just before the all-new Ford Mustang arrives in Australia a bit later this year, I thought we should check out one of the last of the outgoing model, the S550 model. And this is called the California Special. It is basically a sticker pack or a cosmetic enhancement pack with various little trimmings and things that have changed. But I quite like these alloy wheels. They're kind of old school muscle car wheels with the grey spokes and then sort of machined outer rim. They are staggered in width as well, so you've got 255 tyres on the front and 275s on the back. They're Michelin Pilot Sport 4S tyres too. They're very good tyres. And around at the back you've got the higher rear spoiler, which is an option, I think, a performance pack option on the standard GT, and a black grille in the front end with a CS badge and some fake grills along the sides here. I do actually like these grills. They kind of look, yeah, very 1980s muscle car, but it's just a bit of a shame they're fake, because where are they going to go to? I guess there's no engine in the back. They could feed through to the brakes, I suppose. And it comes with the standard GT 5-litre V8 engine. This example has a 6-speed manual too. I quite like the Mustang actually. It is the most popular sports car in the world in terms of new vehicle sales, and it has been the most popular sports car in Australia as well for new vehicle sales according to Vbox. But yeah, I really like it. I think it's got a place in the market, because imagine the market without the Mustang. It'll be, you know, just that little bit more boring, whereas this, it's got a V8 engine, a manual transmission, rear-wheel drive. It's just, that's becoming a very rare recipe these days. Inside you've got these sports seats that have this Alcantara inner trim section. I actually think it looks very 1980s, but in a good way, because they used to have sort of a suede or velour section in the middle there, and then black leather on the outside. They're really comfortable seats. They hold you in place. Decent side bolstering on the upper part there and the bottom part. And they're electric adjustable just for the slide action. The rest of it you have to use this sort of ratchet lever and it will flip forward. There's also a discrete badge there on the dashboard, and there's carbon fiber type or carbon fiber look trimming all around the dash as well. More Alcantara on the door trim with red stitching also for the seats. Then you've got California Special floor mats. So as you can see, it's not a drastic departure from the GT that it's based on, but it's just peppered with nice enhancements that will help it become a bit more exclusive in the future. Because you can imagine, you know, in 20 years time, oh, that's one of those California Special models. It's nothing drastic, but it's just a bit more exclusive. You gotta love the sound of a V8. It actually revs quite high for a 5-litre American style small block V8. It's 7,400 RPM is the red line cutoff, which is pretty high. It does feel like it's over revving a bit past sort of 7,000. It starts to sort of vibrate a bit. Yeah, you don't feel like you want to keep revving it much further, but it produces a lot of power at the top end as well. So it does like to be revved if you want to experience the full performance. Now there are some different exhaust modes you can go through, although I can't really hear the difference except in quiet mode. There's a little valve that happens at the back there at the muffler, and you can actually hear it close off, but all the rest of them, it kind of sounds the same. So that's quiet mode. So as you could probably tell, there was no sort of crackling and popping from the exhaust, whereas the other ones, there's a bit of crackling on the overrun. I just heard it click then underneath. Sounds a bit more crisp, but it's not a drastic difference. I'll just go straight to racetrack. It says for track use only. So keeping in mind the microphone's on my chest here. Yeah, like it's not a huge difference between the different modes. It does seem to be a bit louder the more you drive it. So as I'm sitting here, there's no load under the engine's not under any load, so it's not going to be as loud. But yeah, you do notice the difference between race track mode and then the quiet mode the most, but all in between it's not much difference in my opinion. There are various drive modes you can go through as well, including you just select down here, you've got a steering mode and then your driving modes, and you can go through, you've got normal, sport plus, racetrack, which turns the traction or stability control half off. It doesn't go completely off. You can do that with the button down here and turn it completely off though. And you've got a drag strip mode, as well as a sort of snowy wet weather mode. For this special edition model, and in fact for the MY23 I think, or maybe MY22.75 or something like that, there's a line lock feature that has come in. So, but I'm pretty sure it did debut in Australia, that is, with the California Special. So you just go into the track apps and you can hit line lock. And basically what that will do is hold the front brakes for you, and you can jump off the clutch and it will do a burnout for you without burning out the rear pads if you're on the brake there. You've also got some different modes as well. You hit this Mustang button and you can go into the track apps, and it's got an acceleration timer, and you can go through and do all the different runs, including well, it's not a quarter mile, not to 400 meters, but you can swap over the speed readout to miles, and I'm pretty sure that will change to a quarter mile. This onboard timer doesn't seem to run off real speed though. I think it must run off the speedo, because I ran tests simultaneously with the Vbox, and the Vbox showed slightly slower figures compared with the onboard timer. And that's basically because the speedo in most factory cars, in fact I'd say confidently that all factory cars, they over-represent the speed. So if you're doing an indicated 100 kilometers an hour, your real speed might only be 95 or 96, depending on the vehicle, but it's always going to be a little bit under. And that's basically to protect the vehicle manufacturer in the case of a serious accident where, you know, lawsuits and things are going to get involved. The car will never show that you're going 120, show that you're going 100 when really you're going 110 or anything over the speed limit. But yeah, what I'm getting at is this timer does seem to run on indicated speed rather than real speed or true speed. Now, when this first came out, the Mustang, the S550, I was skeptical about the rear seat room. So I'm going to try and jump in for you just to show you if it's possible to go for a drive. I'm 170 centimeters and probably, yeah, a bit below the average height adult, but we'll see if I can get in. So I've just moved the seat forward a little bit, just the slide on the bottom. My legs, my feet are pretty well tucked under the seat. But once I'm in, yeah, my head's hitting the windscreen, as you can probably see, and I'll try and sit just sort of slouched and a bit more comfortable. Yeah, it's going to get pretty hot with the sun there. I could sit here for a short trip or a bit of a cruise or something down the beach or something like that, but I wouldn't want to sit here for any sort of road trip. The seat cushion is actually quite soft. It's pretty comfortable, and yeah, legroom is not too bad as long as the person in the front doesn't put their seat too far back, which you shouldn't have to, because these big long coupes often have huge amount of front legroom. But in that position, yeah, I can move my legs around a little bit. It's not too bad. It's just the headroom. It's really right on my hair there, but also the sun is just beaming down straight onto the back of my head and back of my neck. But this is a sports car. It's not a family car, so just keep that in mind. And then around at the back, we've got a decent sized boot. You can definitely use this for a weekend away. Got a subwoofer on the side there, but it does go pretty deep. All right, we'll go for a drive. I want to do some POV driving even just for the sake of keeping it for a bit of history, because you know, soon we won't be able to buy a V8 rear-wheel drive manual vehicle anymore, but not new anyway. So I'll go for a bit of a drive and I won't do too much talking and just enjoy the sounds of the V8 and cruising nature of this vehicle. One of the great things about the Mustang has got to be the soundtrack. It's just a very traditional, bellowing, growling V8 sound. I think it sounds a little bit better in the mid-range, so between sort of 3,500 and about 5,500. Above 6.5, it kind of seems like it's straining a little bit, whereas yeah, below that it's just this nice deep growl. Just there. Very long gears in the manual transmission. That just winds right out. And third gear does the same, and it just keeps winding right out. Whereas, yeah, I'd probably prefer something a bit punchier, particularly on a windy road, or a tight windy road anyway. In terms of the handling, it's not as precise as some sports cars, especially on a windy road like this. You don't get the communication through the wheel, and the steering is just a little bit vague, and there's some play on center as well where there's just a bit of nothingness. But yeah, I'm not getting a full understanding through the wheel what the wheels are doing. But it's definitely fun. You can tell that it's engineered as a sports car to be driven. It does feel a little bit heavy though. It's only about 1,700 kilograms, which is pretty heavy for a sports car. But you know, a lot of the SUVs and things these days are 2 tons, or some of them are more if they're electric. So 1,700 is not too heavy, but it feels pretty heavy, and I think that's because of the steering. You can change the steering to the comfort mode if you want to. I've got it in race mode at the moment, and it does feel a bit better in the lighter mode, in the lighter weight modes, I feel. Whereas in the race modes, it's just a little bit heavy set. But it's still got pretty good precision. Can thread through these tighter sections and point it exactly where I want it, more or less. The communication back through the wheel, it's just not ideal for a sports car anyway. Good traction out of corners. That was full throttle, high RPM, and it just hangs on. Full throttle. But yeah, coming back to that sound, that's the best part of the engine, best part of the drive experience for sure. There is an automatic rev function, so you can go into the system here. I've got it turned on at the moment, but I had it turned off when I'm driving around the streets, just because, yeah, you come up to the set of traffic lights and it's revving through blipping the throttle through each gear as you're slowing down. Whereas without it, it just slows down normally. But I also find it's a little bit delayed, so it really relies on you moving the lever. So third gear, yeah, just a little bit delayed in my opinion. But if you're very aggressive and keep the tempo very high when you're driving along on a spirited road like this or on a racetrack, then it's a bit more in sync. The third gear, back to second. Yeah, it's kind of a little bit too late. Again, good traction coming out of the tight corners. The suspension is quite good actually. It's not too firm for a sports car. I'm in the race mode at the moment, and this is a pretty poor road. It's got like concrete blocks with lots of connections, and I've driven, yeah, some sports cars through here that are really crashing and banging over these bumps, whereas this is behaving quite comfortably. There is some sort of dash rattles and things going on, which I've experienced in many other sports cars on this road, just because this road really does uncover things like that. But through the seat, yeah, I'm not feeling any sort of bone-jarring jolts. It's soaking up the bumps quite well. Third gear really picks up the speed because it's got such long legs, and then third gear just takes you right out. Yeah, awesome fun. I can see why people buy, or so many people have bought the Mustang, just because it's a friendly giant. It's not super precise, but manual, V8, what more could you ask for? Great sound as well, and lots of different modes that you can play around with. I do like having different modes and things because it makes the car a bit more versatile, and you can set it up and sort of fine-tune it to your tastes. In terms of fuel economy, I'm averaging about 13. I'm just about to take the car back now. Just going through this up and down a few times, it's gone up to 13.4 litres per 100 kilometres. But I think the official rating is actually 13, so it's not far off the official rating, which is always good. I think where this car really shines though is just cruising. You don't have to be going, you know, flat out and trying to break lap times and things like that. Just when you're cruising around, enjoy that V8 sound, the manual transmission, the long legs as well, which is great for when you're cruising on the, you know, the boulevards and things like that. You don't have to be changing gears constantly. Obviously it helps with highway driving too, so it can be in 6th gear and it's, you know, spinning along at well under 2000 RPM at freeway speeds. Alright, let's head out to the private road now and do some performance testing. I'm not expecting amazing results just because it's a manual V8. It's very hard to get it off the line. It does have a launch control system, which I'll try out as well, but from past experiences, it's not quicker using launch control, or sorry, you can achieve quicker results without launch control. It's handy to have if you're just starting out with sort of sports car driving, but I think most people will get a quicker result without launch control. The last 0 to 100 I did with a manual Mustang was the Mark 1, I think, a couple of years ago, and it scored 0 to 100 in about 5.4 seconds. So I'm not expecting, you know, anything better than that with this version.